Well, we've had a lot of fun this musical March in September. We went back in time to the rock band movie phase of the 60s, where Herman's Hermits inherited a racing greyhound, the Dave Clark Five survived a war-torn weekend getaway, and Jerry and the Pacemakers crossed the Mersey on a ferry. But nothing can prepare you for Cuckoo Patrol. Released in 1967, the movie stars Freddie and the Dreamers, who are part of a Boy Scout troop. For weeks I've been watching these rock and roll movies and thought, I've got a fever, and the only prescription is bushwhacked fever. Bushwhacked fever! With their act filled with a mix of rock and physical comedy antics, it makes sense for a Freddie and the Dreamers movie to have a, let's say, zanier plotline. Which is something because the last act of Ferry Cross the Mersey was a shenanigans-filled silent film where the band searched for their missing instruments. Spoiler alert, Jim doesn't fix it. Freddie and the Dreamers had about 4 hit records in the UK, with their hit song I'm Telling You Now being the one I've heard the most since it got a lot of radio play on our oldies station. They even had their own signature dance called the Freddie. The movie was written by Lou Schwartz and directed by Duncan Wood, with most of the crew primarily having a background in television, and that goes for the writer and director. But I will say, for better or worse, this is the only one of these band movies I watched where the band themselves are credited as co-writing it. But instantly I worry about any comedy that opens with comedy font credits, and with an even more awkward title card. Did he hang himself with the O? This movie is gonna be a lot, isn't it? Cuckoo! Yep! I choose to go into this as a horror film. Freddie and the gang dress as scouts and share each other's sandwiches to keep order in the streets with their vigilante violence. But hey, at least the others aren't being dressed by their mom. Boys, you all look ridiculous! This movie looks like Lord of the Rings written by the head writers of F Troop. Now their troop is ready to either get married or burn someone in a wicker man. And yes, they come up with their own theme song, of course called the Cuckoo Patrol. We are the Cuckoo Patrol. I'm shocked the town stays indoors when the Cuckoo Patrol roams the streets. Not only do I have the feeling the boys will fight against a harumph, but also the saying, what'll possibly go wrong?
I just can't see anything that can possibly go wrong.
Cuckoo! But if Scout Leader Wick hates them, why doesn't he just let them go? Then they'll stop injuring you.
Cuckoo Patrol reporting, sir!
Can't tell this was made by sitcom writers. No one likes them in this troop, not even their star scout Harry Potter. Which is why they would later refer to them as the band who must not be named. For people's lives are at stake from them just trying to build a tent. And that is not the worst thing that happens here. It was right of you to cut away from that. I don't want to have nightmares about what illegal activity just happened. Oh, it's fine. Did they stuff the kid in a bag, clearly on the way to dump him in the river? Just kidding. They locked him in the closet. And yet the Cuckoo Patrol aren't the most unstable ones here.
Hang on, Prosser, I'm coming, lad! I'm coming! Breathe slowly, lad! Prosser!
You know, you could probably use the doorknob. Now that task has failed, and Gomer Pyle is nowhere around to set the building on fire, what else could the gang mess up? Ah, unloading a handcart.
Cuckoo Patrol!
He got job for us, sir, got job!
Yes. Unload the handcart.
Move over, I'm on my way to stick my own neck in that O. Excuse me, you'll have to unload much faster than this. Jerry Marsden ran 100 miles an hour just to get ready for breakfast. Why are you doing this task in real time? And yes, they messed up. They unloaded the things from the handcart that were supposed to be in there.
The cart's all unloaded, sir.
So I see.
What shall we do now?
It's killing him inside that he can't scream, Hogan! there. Instead of going on the trip, he tricks them into hiding in the closet.
Well, what are you chaps doing in here?
Mr. Witt thinks it's our birthday.
Your birthday?
Great, he fools them the same way Skinner fools the troublemakers when Superintendent Chalmers visits. Though when he returns the Cuckoo Patrol to the troop, I do have some questions, such as, are they supposed to be children? They're not being treated like scoutmasters, they're being treated like kids. Oh, and there's another question that'll be asked too.
The Cuckoo Patrol will take the handcart to the station.
Oh, no. Not the Cuckoo Patrol.
But it's only half a mile to the station. What could possibly go wrong?
You are seriously putting our troop in danger having the Cuckoo Patrol here. Not that it matters to the leader, who looks at the children leaving like he's envisioning having them for dessert. Then one thing leads to another and the Cuckoo Patrol ends up in the back of a truck, which is locked up and drives away. Happens to the best of us. This movie makes me miss the subtlety of Ernest Goes to Camp and the wisdom of Camp Candy. Wick is played by Kenneth Connor, famous for the Carry On films, but it was the antics of the Cuckoo Patrol that drives him insane.
A flying saucer came down and took them home.
Not since Jacques Clouseau and Inspector Dreyfus has the screen seen such a rivalry. Also, the boys are still stuck in the back of a truck, and they stop banging for help the second the driver turns their music down. Idiots! How are they still alive? At this point, what do they think is going to happen when they use the handcart to escape? What? What's that tent doing there? When we come back, let's see if Freddie can get up from the top of his head.
Be prepared. Be prepared. Scouting today is a lot more than you think. Join your local troop.
We are back, and not only are the boys free from the dangers of a tent, it's kind of a musical now.
Oh, it's lovely once again to be free. We've been locked away for ages, so it seems.
Can I go back to the commercial break and just stay there? On a positive note, I'll say this. The band as a whole is given a lot more to do in this movie. With the other films, Peter Noon, Dave Clark, and Jerry Marsden were certainly the leads, with the rest of the band just kind of being there in the background. In this film, yeah, Freddie Garrity is the leader, but they do come across as a comedy troupe and are given a lot of dumb guy antics. With the right script and better direction, I could see them working in something. They did make other appearances in movies like Seaside Swingers from 1964, and Freddie Garrity has a way about him where I could see him doing Eddie Deason type roles in the 70s and 80s. Forgive me, I'm talking over the action. Guess that's where they have to go. The movie literally just drops off plot points. Look, a suitcase falls off a car from a wrestler. That'll set up something. Boy, are these guys gonna be angry.
That's the last time I let you tie it on.
Well, it was the way you were driving.
There isn't a single smart person in this universe! Oh, then they start wrestling and a crowd randomly shows up like the gang of girls every time Jerry Marsden picked up a guitar. I made a mistake last week of saying, yeah, Ferry Cross the Mersey was padded, but not as much as Santo versus the Strangler, because this movie is going into very dangerous grounds of also being padded out severely by wrestling footage. Anyway, so these two were arrested for fighting, and now they have no one to wrestle. But then the Cuckoo Patrol shows up to bring the wrestling costumes back. Whoa, I bet I know what's gonna happen.
How would you like to make an old man very happy?
Whoa, wasn't expecting a good dick sucking. Oh, thank God, now they're the ones wrestling as the Silver Supermen. Their strength is looking like they walked out of an Underoos commercial, but really they're selling action figures. That is, if they can free themselves from the ropes. Good Christ, even the Delta House would kick them out for being too much of a liability. But sometimes, every once in a while... I do like the comedic timing. But the rules of comedy states that if your script contains an extended wrestling or boxing sequence in a movie that isn't even remotely about wrestling or boxing, it might be a very bad movie. See Ghost Fever. That's why I distinctly said the movie should have bushwhacked fever. They're even doing the fast motion wrong again. It's the antics that should be in fast motion, not the crowd. This just looks weird. And if you ask me, there isn't enough physical comedy with the ropes.
You guys need a good whack.
And a good whack they got as the Cuckoo Patrol wins. And, what does this mean? Are they running around naked? What's their prize? Appropriate use of fast motion, finally! On the plus side, this is the shortest movie of the month. It's only 72 minutes long. On the downside... It feels like the longest. We're halfway through, so I guess the plot as a whole is that they have to find their way back to the rest of the scouts. Also, they have to set up a tent and build a fire.
Tell you what, go and light a fire.
A fire? Me?
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, give him a break. At least he didn't stick it up his dick hole this time. Sure, it's only like 3 in the afternoon, but it's time to call it a night, right? Look what happens when they try to stick 2 poles together.
Oh.
God, I hope there's not a sex scene. While the boys continue building a tent by just running into a pole, the question has been answered. What could possibly go wrong? A fire is gonna get started, and somehow this is gonna lead to an accidental version of the impaling scene from Cannibal Holocaust. But if I could compliment another thing... I kinda wanna see Freddie Garrity as a Batman villain. At least he'd have more lines to say that way.
Cuckoo! Cuckoo! Cuckoo!
Because just saying the word cuckoo over and over again is like half of this movie's dialogue. And when there's no lines, it's just creepy. Dare I ask what the hell he's looking at? Oh, it's the Girl Scouts, obviously. Let's just continue with the idea that all of them are 30-year-olds playing children, though even kids aren't this dumb. Great, now he has to work with an erection. Thank God the girls put the tent together so they can have another musical number. Kidding aside, I do kind of like this song, which is called Seems Like Things Are Turning Out Fine Again. But I'm still distracted. Subtle hand placement there, bro. You're gonna be in big trouble when their troop leader, Beulah Ballbreaker, shows up. We was only fooling, we swear.
Your girls are very clever. They've got it up.
No, you go fuck yourself. Anyway, I guess this means they have to pack their wagon and leave. Please, for the love of God, turn into a slasher film.
You're on to us, I'll tell you. Somebody squealed.
Why don't you belt up?
Never mind, it's a gangster movie now. Of course it is! Then one thing leads to another, and Freddie leads them into the wrong part of the road that sends them into a ditch. What? You shouldn't have driven down there. Surely Rocky and Muggsy won't let the group handle the rest of their loot.
May I? Oh, thank you. No!
It's gonna explode somehow, isn't it? And not only that, they're tricking the boys into delivering their gear to a sporting goods store that they're intending to rob.
Now, do you think you'll be able to find your way there all right?
What could possibly go wrong?
I don't know, Johnny Five could hunt down the robbers and seek some street justice. I'm starting to think there really is a bomb in that bag. Idiocy aside, that was an impressive throw. That was so intense it caused the robber to pass out cold and then have a breakdown when he wakes up.
I would say he's got an inhibition pattern, based on an Oedipus complex arising out of an unreasoned thought transference.
He must be the smart one. Excellent, we're inside and we're gonna take all of the swimwear. We'll be able to go to any beach we want and be perfectly comfortable. And when we come back, this guy's gonna screw up something and they'll probably think he's a ghost, I bet.
Girl Scouts are helping people all over town, in all kinds of ways. Be a community swinger. Be a Girl Scout.
We're back, and yes, everyone is hiding and pretending to be mannequins because they think the one in chains is a ghost. That was a close one. Look at these tanks. We gotta blow up something. The gangsters are acting like they're in a heist comedy, while the boys are acting like they've snuck into the dean's office to steal their permanent records. I don't even know how to explain this next sequence, where he says he saw a trick in a movie that opens up safes, then he goes over and does it, but they convince him it doesn't work like that, it's only in the movies.
Do it again.
Oh, they've just been telling me. This doesn't work. It's all fake, you know.
There is such a thing as being too dumb! And then, of course, the safe opens again.
Ow! Ow! Ow!
I am rooting for all of the villains in this. Hell, it's even unrealistic that eventually these dumbasses figure out the two guys are robbers. Much like the deleted pie fight at the end of Dr. Strangelove, witness the wacky shenanigans-filled alternate ending to Stanley Kubrick's The Killing. Okay, you can keep in the dog ruining their plan, but get rid of the suction cup arrows and the tennis ball fights. This makes me miss the lighthearted romp of the World War II slapstick comedy, The Devil with Hitler. Sadly, the cops show up to take the robbers away. Forgive me for taking this as the heroes in the movie lose. But then they get what they've always wanted. They get to sleep in the department store for the night.
Seems like things are turning out fine again.
If this movie had a shred of irony to it, it might work, but it doesn't. This is played genuine, to where I almost respect it for not once realizing how terrible the material is. I still like this song, though. So let's wrap the movie up quick. The Cuckoo Patrol makes it back to the bus on a tractor. Okay, sure. Why are you cheering? They're gonna somehow cause this bus to crash.
And now I know that nothing can possibly go wrong.
You know you curse yourself every time you say that.
Oh, we caught some crooks.
We did everything.
See, one of them did have a bomb. Though I sort of like this reveal at the end. That laugh tells me that they wanted all of this terrible shit to happen. They're psychopaths! That's the end, by the way, as we end on a shot of all of their shit fucking destroyed. This is not the pilot movie to Dad's Army that I was expecting. Cuckoo Patrol is the most undignified title I've watched since Unidentified Flying Oddball. It's hard to find a review that doesn't call it the worst band movie, but also there's plenty that call it one of the worst British comedies of the 60s. I haven't seen enough to know, so you tell me if that's true. But if Catch Us If You Can was easily the best I've watched this month, with Ferry Cross the Mersey and Mrs. Brown You've Got a Lovely Daughter just being mediocre, Cuckoo Patrol was the worst. Every joke is obvious and telegraphed and really lowbrow. You can just watch one joke and pretty much get the gist of the entire film.
Teach them to come across as Boy Scout.
It sucks! But it was still a lot of fun to shine a light on these time capsules, and makes me want to look at more of them in the future. For instance, I still haven't seen that Rock Around the Clock sequel yet. But there's no time for musical shenanigans next week because October is approaching, so rejoice because we're getting back to the horror movies.
Cuckoo!